Pewter is a tin-based metal that has been used for thousands of years in the making of cutlery, plates, cups, and all kinds of ornaments. Pewter is a malleable or soft alloy that contains mostly tin, but also a small percentage of copper, antimony, and bismuth. Amos Pewter, based in Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia, continues the tradition by designing and making a multitude of vases, cups, ornaments, and jewelry. Amos Pewter focuses on two methods of manufacturing: spun or lathed objects and cast objects. The lathe is used to make cups, vases, candlesticks, or any other object that needs to be spun. Vases start off as a flat circular pewter disc. First, an artisan uses a hammer and branding spike to hammer on the Amos Pewter touch mark or name. Then the disc is placed in the lathe and lined up using a simple piece of wood. A lubricant made from shortening and soap is then brushed on the disc to ensure a smooth forming process. Using a tool called a spinner's finger, the artisan slowly forms the metal disc into a cup shape using the chuck or form. Once the simple form is created, the artisan changes the chuck to something a little thinner. He then places the object back on the lathe and adds more lubricating paste. The vase is now ready to be given its final shape using the spinner's finger. Once the shape is complete, the artisan trims the rim of the vase to create a nice straight edge. Now the vase has been given its final shape, it moves to the Whirligig. Here, an artisan spins the vase at an even speed and uses sandpaper to smooth the edges of the vase. Using 4 progressively finer grits of sandpaper, the artisan buffs the vase to a smooth and even shine. The end result is a beautiful object of art and practicality. Cast objects begin life as a sketch on paper. Artists constantly push the creative limits to design and draw a variety of arresting and practical pieces. Here, an artist is sketching a nautilus shell to celebrate Amos Pewter's 40th anniversary. Once the sketch is complete, a copy is attached to a sheet of jeweler's wax, and the basic shape is cut out using a coping saw. Once the shape is transferred, the artist uses fine hand tools to carve the details and shape of the object in the wax. Once complete, the wax is placed in a silicone mold within a rubber disc. This will be used to create one or more pewter prototypes that will eventually be used to create the final casting molds. Once they have been cast, the prototypes are refined by hand. Here, the artist is able to add the finest of details. Finally, the artist signs the back of each piece, something that will be visible in the final casting. The casting molds are made from 2 rubber discs, similar to tire rubber. The prototypes are placed between the 2 discs while heat and pressure are used to vulcanize the rubber and create a hard negative mold. Once channels have been cut into the mold, it's ready for casting the finished object. Casting requires skill and scientific knowledge to ensure the pewter reaches all the little cracks and crevices. The pewter itself is a liquid when hot, but quickly hardens as it cools, so it requires a quick and careful hand to cast correctly. First, the artisan sprinkles talc on both halves of the mold. This ensures the hardened pewter doesn't stick to the rubber. Next, the 2 mold halves are pressed together and placed in a centrifuge. The centrifuge spins the mold at a desired speed to force the molten pewter into every crevice. Finally, the molten pewter is ready to be poured slowly into the center of the mold. Too fast and air may get stuck in the mold. Too slow, and the pewter may harden too soon. Once poured, the artisan allows the centrifuge to spin as the pewter cools. She then removes the mold from the centrifuge and peels the 2 halves apart. Sometimes not all the required pieces will work out, but not to worry, any bad pores or scrap pewter is recycled back into the melting pot for reuse. Once the objects are cast, they move on to the buffing and polishing stage. Here, artisans cut off the excess pewter from the molding process, then use a cloth wheel with buffing compound to smooth any rough spots. Finally, they use a wire wheel to polish the object to a beautiful shine. The finished item is then packaged to be placed in the showroom for sale.